Hey everybody, welcome to the second episode of Arnicanum. It's a city based on Arnhem in the Netherlands, quite of a middle big city. The map is actually based on the geolocation of Arnhem, but the city is based on a little of like every possible Dutch city. It has a few canals, it has a nice city center to walk in and to do your stuff in. Anyways, what I showed you in the intro was a church square which I made off camera, and I'm going to do some more stuff off camera because I think that I don't need to record everything that I do in my city. So that's why I decided to just leave the camera as it is and just do my stuff. What I decided to actually make here is the walkable city center at this moment. So this will feature a lot of shops, a lot of restaurants and everything. So people will be able to have like a car-free center to just walk through and, you know, not having any pressure of cars blocking their way or cars, being in their way. So I decided to also make this like very classical, typical Dutch city center that has a lot of classical buildings, some 16th century stuff. I mean, it's really nice to have that. So that's why I decided to do that. I am also going to plow this full of decals. You're going to see that in a few minutes. I also expanded the one-way city ring road. I actually want to create some parking possibilities on the other side of the ring road, so people can actually park their car there and then walk into the city center. That's why I decided to expand the ring road. So the walkable city center will stay walkable. And then I also want to make this thing 2 lanes. Why? Because if you have it 2 lanes, it makes it way more acceptable to drive through, and it keeps the traffic flow at acceptable levels. But I also want to protect people who are on foot, and which way can you better do it than just create a pedestrian crossing. So I did the markings, created some pedestrian crossing markings, which are from the CROW. If you don't know that, that's kind of the agency that makes road guidelines in the Netherlands. So because I'm a student, I study civil engineering. That's why I can access this and create an as realistic possible city center and as realistic possible roads that are actually Dutch. Here I wanted to make a little modern part of the city center. As some of you guys may know, the Netherlands has a history of World War II, so that means some city parts are destroyed and then rebuilt. Some mistakes were made by creating some brutalist 70s buildings, but so it existed of like 70s buildings and stuff, and then got deleted again, and then it was replaced with way more beautiful models, with way more beautiful buildings, of course. So what I wanted to do is let them gradually get higher. So this is where PO came greatly into place, because it would make the bigger buildings visible from the walkable city center, but it would also mean, oh my god, I should be closer to my microphone. Wow. But it would also mean that it would be that it would be nicer to have like big buildings in the city that create a lot of housing, and to have like a modern part of the city. So that's why this modern part, these modern buildings are in between the old buildings. I think that really fits. I often get to hear, because I actually showed this to a private community, and they said like, no, you should have put in the big buildings, and others said like it's really cool to have those. So I think people are having mixed feelings about this. But what I do know is that, for example, my city where I live in, Venlo, also uses these some often quite big apartment buildings in the city center, which are also quite modern. So I wanted to do that too because I think it looked cool. So that's why I did it. I also wanted to make this full with like modern decals instead of the old brick ones that I just laid in a normal pattern. I wanted to make them in a fish grade pattern that would look just awesome. I think it also has like way more modern stone. I know it sounds kind of weird, but when you lay rocks or stones in a fish grade pattern, it looks way better than when you have them in a straight pattern. A straight pattern is also fine, but it's more fine for like older city parts, and this kind of brick that I laid here is more for like newer city parts. It's kind of lighter and it cooperates way better with the lighter brick that the modern buildings have. So that's why I decided to do that. Following up to that, I wanted to place some trees. The same trees I placed on my market square. More about that later, because that market square, I think it really looks awesome, and it's also going to be in the showcase, which you also saw in the beginning of the video. I also added some details like small little poles again on the corners of the streets like they are in the Netherlands, and a lot of more trees to also have some greenery. These trees are of course younger because this is a more modern part, so the trees aren't as old as the trees are on the main side of the road, because those trees are of course older, so they are taller, and these younger trees are made to become taller eventually, but we'll just pretend like this is like maybe 3 or 4 years old. So it doesn't actually matter if it's bigger or not. It's just the only thing that matters is that we have trees there. Anyways, also wanted to place some bike racks. So you know that this is the Netherlands, of course, because we like to bike a lot. Some benches to actually finish it and make it able for people to also just sit on a bench instead of having to walk everywhere. Then I decided to use some block buildings to actually make them functional, because if you use PO, the buildings become non-functional. So that would mean that you would need that you would need some block services to actually make them have a function, and you can create a lot of functions with those block services, which is nice because you can actually create a crematorium or anything in a modern apartment building or anything like that, or create an office in a modern apartment building. It's really cool. Then I was kind of looking around, I don't know why, probably because I thought this looked cool. Anyways, expanding the modern part with a lot of apartment buildings, and I'm probably going to use that section for like more modern stuff. Then about that marketplace that I made, marketplace, let's call it a marketplace, because in Dutch we call it a marktplein. So I think a farmer's marketplace would be the best name I could give there. I want to actually create a square with a farmer's market, and I actually wanted to do that with the square near the church that I just built. That church will probably be the highest building, at least in the city center, so the church will be like leading for every other building, that no other building is allowed to be higher than the church itself. I think that I think it's great to protect the historic artifact that the city has. So if you would create buildings that are higher than the church, you would definitely I think you will be playing with fire, because you're just destroying the historic center. That's what happened to Rotterdam. Although I can understand Rotterdam because it's bombed in 1940, and it's not like restored to the fullest like other cities in the Netherlands did, like Amsterdam. But Amsterdam also has some pretty high buildings to the side of the city, and that's a thing that I maybe also want to do, just to create like bigger buildings on the side of the city and keep the city center as historic and intact as can be. By doing that, I think that it would, you know, keep the beauty of the city center and not per se make it any worse than in some cases it already is, because I will definitely place some brutalist buildings in between the city center that are very ugly, but are part of the like 70s rebuild scheme that some cities have, so it would be weird if I wouldn't add those in. But here I still want to keep things historic, and I am actually looking for great farmers market assets, because I think that having a farmers market square with like a huge church or anything like that would be really nice to have. I mean, I want multiple churches in my city, as it also, you know, it also remembers of the old city center, or the old age where the church was always leading in the city and it was always a Catholic church. So I wanted to create that and see if I'm able to create something nice with it. I am also going to check for that tower. That tower is probably somewhere from Amsterdam or Amersfoort or anything like that. If I can actually give it like a tourist function, if that will be possible. I have to check, because I have the block services, so I think it is possible to have like a leisure activity in there. It will also create like a great function for the city, because it would create a new tourist attraction, and it would also attract tourists and thus money. I haven't created any outside connections yet. Probably I will do that the next episode, just create a highway network, or probably first finish the city center and then create a highway network. The great thing is that even though I have complaints right now about not having not having enough workers, or not having enough inhabitants in the city, no goods to sell, anything like that, it probably will be fixed at a certain moment, because if I'm going to let people into the city, then it's all fine, of course. But for now, it's kind of fucked up. That's why I keep the game on paused, like for most of the time, just to first be able to design stuff, and then later on I'm actually going to expand stuff. Anyways, what I wanted to add here was I first wanted to make like a church square, which I definitely failed to do. I instead made like a corner building, and I put some buildings in between to just fill the space up. But I really would love to have that square with a farmer's market. And if anyone knows any farmer's market assets from the workshop, please let me know, because I want to have that so bad. It would make such a lovely city possible, and I think it would really add up a lot in the city. So this was today's episode of Arnicanum. I hope you liked the cinematic that's coming up, and I will see you in the next video.